Hi everybody, welcome to this weekend update video from the shack in West Oxfordshire. Weather this morning, pretty rubbish. Certainly rubbish compared to this time last year at the start of the first lockdown, where we had several months of really nice weather from April onwards. It's not too cold right now, but I've just read it's going to be frost again tonight and tomorrow night. So definitely nowhere near the sort of weather conditions that we were experiencing this time last year. At least it's not windy, which, as some of you already know, is my least preferred weather. So there you go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Kenwood TS480. I used this radio in anger, really, on full power for the first time yesterday, and I'm going to continue testing it this weekend. But it was quite interesting, and I wanted to sort of share some of the results with you. So I had cranked it up to 100. Now, the first thing I suppose is the difference between 100 watts and 200 watts is only half an S point, but which isn't a sort of huge or fundamental shift in increase in power, but more power at some point, you know, is going to be useful, particularly for DX long distance. What I did yesterday, so anyway, I cranked it up to 200 watts. It's connected to my end fed wire. I'd already run 150 through it, no problem at all. And anyway, yesterday afternoon I was tuning around the 80 meter band and it was completely dead. But I just thought, what the heck? So with 150 watts, I put a call out, a CQ call on 80 meters, and it was very quickly answered by a very nice gentleman by the name of Wilfred in Antwerp. His call sign Oscar 4 Whiskey, and with 150 watts. He reported my signal as 5 and 4. Okay, so this is in Antwerp, so this isn't really DX, but the band was dead at my end. And what was interesting was that he confirmed the same thing, that at his end he'd also been sort of tuning around the band and it was completely dead. There were no calls, you know, etc. So anyway, we had a brief chat and I explained to him the situation with the Kenwood, new to me at least anyway. And what's interesting is that he's also got one of these, but he's got the 100 watt version with the built-in ATU, which he uses when he's out sort of on camping trips or out and about anyway. And anyway, so I said to him, look, I'm going to crank the power up to 200 watts. Give me a signal. So 5 and 4 with 150 watts. So I cranked the power up. I didn't actually crank it up to 200, actually. I cranked it up to 195. And he reported me as 5 and 7. So, you know, fair enough. Slightly stronger signal from, you know, 5 and S4 to S7. Obviously, you have to bear in mind that there could have been rapid changes in, you know, conditions, etc. I reported him as 5 and 9 and asked him for his operating conditions, and he came back to me and said that he was 5 and 9 with me. When he came back, he said he was using 1,500 watts. So he was running 1.5 kilowatts. And I was copying him 5 and 9, and I was running just under 200 with this rig at 5 and 7. So you know, I thought that was a pretty decent result. And anyway, so I used the radio last night on our Friday night sced, and the almost immediate comment was, well, the audio on this radio isn't as good as the audio on my 7300, which for which I've always been sort of, you know, complimented on. But having said that, I hadn't really had the time to set the audio up. So I did have a fiddle around with the audio. I switched over the equalizer to bass BB2, which is sort of bass boost 2. They said there was a lot of treble, not enough bass. And I switched it, and then switched the processor on. And overall, you know, the feedback was actually the audio is pretty good now, quite natural, but needs a bit more work. But we were, whilst we were on the net last night, we were accompanied by my friend David near Barcelona, Echo Alpha 3 India Echo Kilo. And what was encouraging for me was that he made the comment on our Twitter feed, on the Harwell ARS Twitter feed, that he was copying me much stronger than he had been for many weeks. And he was aware of the fact that obviously I had this Kenwood 200 watt radio. So that was encouraging. What was also encouraging was that another friend of the club, Ian, Mike 0 India Alpha Lima, he also joined the net and gave us some signal reports, and he actually was copying me at 5.9 or 5.9 plus. So my signal was one of the was in a group with the strongest signals coming out of the group of the club members. So that was really encouraging as well. So the physics doesn't lie. At the end of the day, if you double your power, that's half an S point. But at the end of the day, it does seem to bode well for using more power with this rig. Now I'm going to do a separate video on this rig in terms of using it, because I've bolted it now to the chassis, which I think I might have already mentioned, and so that I can use it as a pick the thing up and carry it around, etc. And I was going to do a video explaining that and a bit on its operation, but I do have to say that I am really happy with it.
Yeah, many thanks there. Thanks again there, Nigel. Good morning there, Keith. Nice to hear your dulcet tones this morning. G4BYY from Mike 0 Lima Zulu Yankee. Lovely clear 5 and 9.
And Mike Willis, G0MJW, he's got a couple of these rigs and says they're very good. And Jeff M0UHF has got this actual version, the 200 watt version, and then my friend Ron in Oscar November 2 Romeo Oscar November, he's spent a lot of time with this rig, and the feedback is unanimous that anyone that's used this rig or owns this rig basically really likes it.
Many thanks for the 5 and 9 both ways, David. Yes, it has been a very long...
Listen to that noise reduction.
You and yours are well.
I mean, that's noise reduction that actually works. Hey, take a listen.
GDU from Mike 0 Lima Zulu Yankee. 5 and 9 there, John, over. Thanks for the 5 and 9. Also 5 and 9.
That's the thing with this radio. Everything on it actually works, and although I had concerns about the ergonomics because I've never used a Kenwood before, it was really, really straightforward, and it really is an excellent radio. So that's on that. So this weekend I'm going to carry on testing it using 200 watts, and actually my friend Jeff M0UHF is we're going to do some testing and to try and improve the audio a little bit more, although it's already okay. It's a running feature on this weekend update, but this antenna splitter, I still haven't gotten around to unboxing it yet, and I still need to do an unboxing video on the antenna splitter. So I really am going to try and do that this weekend. And I'm showing you my Sony ICFSW77 because I got this radio out. I think it was yesterday when I'm the guy that runs the Harwell I'm the guy that runs the Harwell ARS Twitter feed. I manage it. Took it over a few weeks ago. And when I took it over, I think we had 49 followers. We've now got about 180, so it's quite good. But when I actually post a notification, so I always post a notification. I try to put something on there every day if possible, or at least do some retweets. And when I post a notification for one of the nets, I always try to attach an image to make it a little bit more interesting. So quite, and usually that means posting an image of one of my one of my radios. Now I've got a lot more receivers and I have transceivers, so I'll quite often post an image of a radio tuned to the frequency that we're going to be operating on, just to make it a little bit more interesting and a bit more likely that some Twitter followers will actually bother to take a look. And so this week I grabbed the SW77 and took a picture of it and used that as my bait on Twitter to get people to read that posting. And then it sort of dawned on me that I haven't used this radio actually, or its predecessor, the ICF 2001D, for a long time. And this is a radio that I'm never going to get rid of. I sold the Panasonic, the RFB65, because I basically never used it. And although it's a brilliant radio, it's flawed. This radio is right up there with the very best. It's probably just one small step down from the 2001D, which makes it a very, very good radio indeed. In my book, the 2001D was only really ever properly surpassed by the Eaton E1, and if Eaton ever get around to re-engineering that radio, and its performance is as good as the original, because I used to own an original version of that radio, then it'll be worth buying. But anyway, I'm going to play around with this radio this weekend, and because as I said, I got it out literally just to take an image for the Twitter feed, but it just reminded me, and I'm not being funny, and you can agree or disagree with this, but that is quite a handsome looking radio, isn't it? Sort of very I think very sort of 1990s. And yeah, for me, it is one of the best looking radios. Obviously, the sort of ergonomics of it and the kind of industrial design of it is very similar to my ICFSW75, smaller radio, another very good radio that I haven't used for a long time. Yeah, it's a bit of a trip down memory lane, really. Most of you probably don't know the story of how I got hold of this radio, but one of you knows, and one of my Twitter follower knows how I got hold of this radio, and maybe he'll feel inclined to share the story with you. I won't embarrass him and his generosity. I'll let him do that himself if he wishes to, but this radio is basically a keeper for sure, and one that I'll never get rid of. So I'll have a play around with that this afternoon. The other thing that's happening today, of course, is as always, on a Saturday afternoon now, we have a 2-meter simplex net, LFM net, and today it's my turn to chair that net, which is absolutely fine. The good news is that from my QTH here in West Oxfordshire, my Diamond X300 antenna works perfectly well, and so there's no issue for me to chair the net at all. We actually use a Google Docs spreadsheet, so I'll have to set that up shortly, so as I haven't got to do that on the fly when we actually do the net. But that's on 145.4125 megahertz, if anyone's close enough to have a listen. I don't normally, actually I was just about to say, I don't normally post a notification on Twitter for that, but actually I'm just correcting myself, I actually do. So but it's really for the benefit of the Harwell Club members, and obviously you've got to be sort of fairly local to join in on 2 meters. So that's today, and then tomorrow there's the DI net, GB3 DI repeater net, which I can only do that from here if I put up that a temporary antenna with one of my telescopic poles, which I may or may not do. Let's see how inclined I am to do it. But I like to join the DI net. From Abingdon, it's a piece of cake. From here in West Oxfordshire, it's not. Although, well, I say it's not. It's not, but I actually need to put up an antenna. I'm actually going to have the X300 mounted on the roof soon. So once that's done, then I'll be good to go. But we'll see. Maybe tomorrow I'll participate in the net. If I'm out and about in the car, of course, for any reason, then and I'm close enough, I can do that on my Baofeng, which is the DI GB3 DI is programmed into it. And then finally, finally this weekend. I'm going to do a bit of FT8 actually. I've been doing FT8 on 2 meters, not in the past few days, but from last weekend. Did a little experiment with FT8 on 2 meters with my temporary telescopic antenna, just to see if it made any difference in terms of getting further into Europe. And to be honest with you, it didn't make much difference. Yeah, I'm going to have a little go on 20 and 40 meters with my G5 RV. I mean, I don't use that antenna very often, but I'm gonna give that a little bit of a whirl. And you can see there's some German stations here on 40 meters that I'm not transmitting at the moment, but I'm going to be doing a little bit of FT8. And then again, I can't really say exactly what I've been writing about, but I have actually I have just finished another article for Radio User magazine. So this is basically another review, essentially, and which I think everyone's going to enjoy. It's I'm not going to say what it is because it's not really for me to say that, but I was actually planning. I wasn't planning to get it finished. I finished it yesterday, and yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, I finished it. So I was planning to do that this weekend and get it off, but that's all done now. So I'm not sure when that's going to appear, but it will appear in the magazine probably sooner rather than later. If it's probably too late for the May edition. It'll either be, I'm guessing it's going to be the June edition, because it's probably too late for May, but you never know. I'll let you know anyway. When it comes out, I'll do a video on that. But that was actually quite good fun. The testing, doing the review of the FDM S3, if I'm honest with you, was it was enjoyable, but it was also a pain, because that was a very long sort of test and write up. You know, the S3 is such a capable receiver with so many features. It's not the sort of receiver that you can sort of spend a couple of hours testing and then write about it. You know, it took weeks of testing that radio and recording spectra and all the rest of it. So it was quite a lengthy process, which wasn't the case for the article that I've just written. So anyway, I'll let you guys know about that as and when it is published. So that's it really from me. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to be spending a lot of my time on this radio. And anyone that wants a QSO at the weekend, drop me a line on Twitter with Harwell, or my Twitter feed, the Oxford Shortwave Log Twitter feed, or obviously the comments on the YouTube channel. So that would be very nice to work some of you guys over the weekend if you're around on HF. Okay, well, with that, I'll wish you 73. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to write me some comments. I'm still doing my best to try and answer all of them. It's not easy, but I'm trying my best. And even if I can't go into as much detail now because I've got 100 comments to write, I'm trying my best to answer all comments for as long as I can. So, but we are approaching, I think, 5,000 subscribers, which is making it a bit difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine. But doesn't mean that I don't read them. I read them all, and I appreciate them all. So thanks for taking the time. Okay, well, I wish you all good DX. Have a great weekend. Keep safe. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. 73.